start. And in a way, there's some funny things about this. I really intend this to be for somebody who doesn't know anything about contesting or newbie, because there are far more people in this room that are much better contesters than I am. But I hope that it's a good way to kind of get familiar with things. And I'm going to be using a PowerPoint. I did send out some handouts which you can use either before or after. But one thing that I found that sometimes when you're using a PowerPoint, if you put it in speaker view, sometimes the screen is less cluttered. So I just thought I'd mention that, but I'm going to go ahead and switch to a screen share. This is really an introduction, and that's really what it is. This is not high contesting. It's just kind of an overview and hopefully some helpful hints along the way. We're going to cover 6 things with some question and answers. Why you might want to participate in a contest, how to use contest online score, and we'll go through that one quite in detail. A little bit about the Pacific Northwest Challenge Cup secluded contest. I'll talk about some contest logging options, and then quite a few contest tips. We'll probably spend more time on that than anything. And then the last thing I'll do is, how do you do a Cabrilla file? Because a lot of people that are just starting in contest, they don't know how to do that. So, and then we'll have question and answer. And because of who's in the room, there are many, many experts that are much greater than I am. And so I would say that, we're going to profit from their help. Why you might want to participate in contests? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but to me, when I started out, and this, I'm going to tell you my own story, I just wanted more DX. I really felt like I couldn't compete in contests. I felt like I probably wasn't very good. But I knew that there were a lot of stations on the air in contests that were not on the air other times. So probably for my first 10 or 12 years, what I did was enter contests and then search and pounce looking for DX I needed. I really wasn't trying to get a high score. So, that's a valid reason. We do this hobby for fun. You can use it however you want, but I encourage everyone, whether they like contests or not, it's a great way to pick up some new countries. Another thing is it does improve your operating skills. I find that it improves your ability to pick out calls, your ability to work the bands, know what's open, when it's open. It will test your station's reliability. Nothing like doing a 48-hour contest to find out if you got something wrong. It will let you know if you've got a short or you got a bad SWR or something. It's just a great way to make your station pretty reliable. You do get to know the band, because most of us, we operate only certain times. Like for me, when I was still working, I basically was working evenings and weekends. Well, in a 48-hour contest, you get to know who's on when I should be looking at Europe, when I should be looking at Asia, when I should be looking. It helps you know the bands. And that helps you all the time in finding DX. And then it's just fun. It's just a kick. And recently in a contest, Murph and Jim and I and Mike all kind of did a contest together, and we spurred each other on. It was fun. So, and then if you really want to go for it, you can get some wallpaper, and it's actually surprisingly easy to get wallpaper by just the categories you pick. So those are some reasons. Now, I want to talk about contest online scoreboard. Actually, Randy, who's in the room, first suggested this to me, and we had a group of, I think, 3 or 4 from the Spokane DX and 3 from the Idaho DX did this for the IAU contest in July to just try it out. And every one of us found it fun. We could see how each other was doing, and you could see, just how the rates were going. So basically, we've decided as two clubs that this year we're going to, for all who want to, it's just who wants to, we're going to use this. And what it is, if you set your software up, and we're going to show you how to do that, it will report your score every 5 minutes, and you can look at how everybody else was doing. And I think, by the way, I think I have somebody I need to let in, maybe. Oh, no, it's chat. Okay. I find, one, when I see Murph or Jim all of a sudden moving way up in their count per hour, it makes me get with it and quit being so lazy. And it's kind of fun to just watch the scores. And I'm sure I sit in the chair longer because of it than I would if I didn't have it. Now, when you go, by the way, there's the website number. It's in the handout too. But when you go, the first screen looks like this, and you can either log on or register. And I will tell you, either way, it comes out about the same. But you have to register once, no cost. They give you no spam mail. You don't get dinged from them. I've not had anything that I would say, but you hit that, and then you come to a screen like this. And the logon screen and the profile screen are identical. When you register, you have to give your call sign and your email. And I will tell you, those are the two things that don't change. You can't change those. The only way to change those is really to register again. So think what email you want to use before you register. And then you give it the name you want and your password. And, it can be whatever you want. The real key is right here, what's in the box. You're in North America. And then for the club, you would put Spokane DX, or if you were in the Idaho, you'd put Idaho DX Association. But for all of the Pacific Challenge ones, we have formed a team that includes both the Spokane and the Idaho DX clubs, and it's called the Flounders Trophy. Now, you'll be able to look at the scores either way, but if you fill it out this way, you'll be able to follow everyone in both clubs. If you only wanted to follow people in either the Idaho club or the Spokane, you could just look at the team tab. And there's up here, clubs and teams. And that will show you what it is. Now, in that, the step 3 you have to do is you have to connect your logging program to it. And almost everybody in our two clubs uses N1MM Plus, WriteLog, or N3FJP Logger. If you go to their page, which, by the way, I'll go back, Help with Loggers right up here. It's up in the top right here. You hit that, and then you get this page, and then you just hit on whatever logging program you use, and the instructions are fantastic. They're very clear. It's very easy. I think it took me less than a minute to set mine up. And in fact, I think it took me less than 2 minutes to set up both N3FJP and N1MM. I haven't set it up in WriteLog, but I believe that it's as easy in that. So you just click on the logger you want, and it'll give you instructions. Now, once you do it, you can look at any contest. Oh, you have to pick the contest, and you do it up here in the top left. So, like this weekend, if you were doing salmon run, you would have to pick it. Almost every contest in the world is up there, but you have to pick the contest. And then you can look at the screen however you want it. Dell has a hand raised, so let me ask Dell what he wants.
How robust of an internet connection do you have to use this?
Honestly, almost nothing.
Awesome.
The overhead on it is almost nil. In fact, I could run it easily off my iPad using my phone connection, no trouble. You can put filters, like if you only want to know who are running single operator low power, you can put a filter. You can put a filter by North America any way you want. But during the contest, I would encourage you to hit the teams one and then go down to the Flounders Cup, and then you'll be watching the people that are in the two clubs. And it's a kick. And unfortunately, I didn't take a screenshot of it in team mode, but it's really easy. That you just go to this tab here. If all you wanted to do, let's say you were in a contest and you only wanted to know who was in the Spokane DX, just go to club, find Spokane DX club, and then they'll just list the members of the Spokane DX club. One thing I should mention, let me go back to when you're going to find this, when you hit the drop-down menu, it starts in Europe. You have to go almost halfway down before you get into the United States and get to the Spokane DX club. And just slightly above it is the Idaho club. But that's the way you do it with those drop-downs. Really, at that point, you're set up. And it's automatic. You don't have to think about it. Your logging program will update it automatically every 5 minutes. And you can then watch it. If you have a multiple screens, like I put it on a separate monitor, but you can fit it in however size you want. It's really fun. Do anybody have any questions about online contest logger, or anybody want to make any comments that used it, or just feedback?
Mel, this is Frank.
Yeah, Frank.
The question I have is, what logging program should you use?
I'm going to get to that in a minute. So I'll hold that one, Frank. Any other questions or comments?
Hey, Mel.
If you want to say anything, you were the really creator of it. Well, I'm not hearing you, so we can come back to it, but we're going to get to Frank's question in just a minute.
Hey, Mel, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So from what I understand, you're putting this program on your iPad, is that right?
I think you could. I actually have it just on a separate monitor.
Okay.
But you don't have to. You can put it on the same screen. I mean, you can squeeze it down however you want.
I was just saying it'd be kind of fun to have it on your iPad sitting on the side, so you had, it wasn't getting in the way of the contest at all. And you can just look up and say, oh, Mel's beating me by 20,000 QSOs already.
and that's why I think people that have, maybe you use a desktop computer in your lab and you have a laptop or you have an iPad, you can easily put this on a separate monitor or, device. And then it's not cluttering your screen. Yeah. Okay. Let me talk just a little bit about the Northwest Challenge. By the way, Jay, who's on here, is really the guru of all this. But the Northwest Challenge, Pacific Northwest Challenge, it's a year-long contest. It involves 10 contests. And there are 6 clubs. The BC DX Club is not very active anymore. Then the Idaho DX Association, the Spokane DX, Orca, which again is British Columbia, and then Western Washington, and then Willamette Valley. And probably the order I put them in is the order their scores are going to go. The Idaho and Spokane Club, will have 2 to 4 million points at the end of the year. The Willamette will have 80 million. So that's why we have the Flounders Cup for the bottom feeders here. But it is fun to watch everybody, and it's a kick. But it's those 6 clubs here in the Northwest. And it involves 10 contests. And it's rather interesting when you look at it. There are 3 RITI contests. You can see the very first one is a RITI, and I've tried to color code them. Then the 4th and 5th one are RITI. So if you want to contest RITI, there are 3 definite contests. Then there are 3 sideband contests: the 2nd, the 7th, and the 8th. And in terms of DX, the 2nd and the 7th probably have the most DX in them on the sideband. And then if you know CW, there are 3 CWs: number 3, number 6, number 9. The 10th contest, you can use any one of the 3. You can use sideband, CW, or RITI. So my point is, you can jump in as much as you want. Until last year, I had only contested personally in the sideband contest. I did all the sideband, and I didn't do any of the CW because I didn't know it, and I didn't do RITI. Last year, I did do RITI in the ARRL roundup. And this year, I'm hoping to do all 3 RITI contests. But my point is, we contest for fun. Do what's fun to you. If you just love CW, man, you don't have to do the sideband contest. I have some friends that if they own a mic, they probably have to look for it because they only do CW. But do whatever's fun for you. And that would be my encouragement to go for that. I would encourage you to consider 3 regional contests. One is this weekend, Salmon Run, because it is our Washington State contest. And obviously, like Randy and Jay are going to do mobile CW. That's why I need to learn CW. I can't work them. But the object, it's just a fun time. And in some ways, you become the DX station because people outside of Washington are trying to get you. And that's a fun contest. And then the Idaho QSO party comes up in March. And, we're trying to, plug into that because we have quite a few members in Idaho. And then the 7th area, which includes both, the whole 7th region, is in May. So there are 3 regional contests, and those are just fun. They're just a kick to contact a lot of people. So I encourage you on that. Anything anybody wants to add about those? They're like, Jay, did I slip something that I should have?
No, I think you got it all, Mel.
Okay. Now I'm back to Frank's question on logging programs. And I'll just tell you unabashed, this is my opinion. My opinion could be as wrong as it could be. But one of the things you want to separate is your logging for a contest and your general logging are most of the time 2 separate programs. There are a few exceptions, but most of the time they're separate. For contests, by far the biggest, the most widely used, in fact, almost all of the multi-op stations and all that, everyone uses N1MM+. It is free. They have a contest module for every contest I almost ever heard of. And I would encourage you, if you're just going to start contesting, try it. Now, it takes a little bit of time to set up and you get used to it. But the fact is, you can do you can do RITI contests, you can do CW contests, you can do sideband contests. And it takes care of all the multipliers, all the scoring, writing your Cabrilla log, everything. I've only used it 3 times before now. I'm going to use it all the time in the RITI contest, but I used it with Randy in a RITI contest, and then I used it at another RITI contest, and then I did use it for the Digi contest the end of August. I encourage you to consider that one. And we're going to, for those that are going to do RITI, Monday night at our RITI introduction program, Jay's going to take us through setting it up and all that, and you'll get up to that. Now, I normally use for most of my logging, in fact, my contest, non-contest and contest, I use N3 FJP. I love it. It's easy to use. It's so simple. There's you buy it once and it's good for life. Now, this is a personal opinion and people can disagree with me, but I will tell you for RITI, it's inferior to N1MM, to my personal opinion. It's not even in the same league. So that's why I really think if you're just starting out, just well learn N1MM, it's free. Some of our more experienced people, like Gary and Jay Townsend, they use WriteLog, one that costs money, and personally, I know Jay would disagree with me, but I find it kind of finicky to set up. And I think, why not start with a free one? So my suggestion is, if you're going to start in contests, especially if you're doing RITI, I would do N1MM. If you already own the license to N3 FJP, I prefer it for sideband, honestly. But those are opinions. Anybody want to chime in with alternate opinions? I'm not hearing anybody. Okay, you guys are trust me. I want to talk just a little bit about the language. And you have a handout on this, but when you first get started in contesting, you know, there are terms that we don't use much. And so I'm going to just quickly go through these. I'm not going to take a long time. You have a definition, and they're not meant to be exhaustive, but running is when you set on a frequency and you call CQ and people come to you. There is no question, most of the time you'll get a higher score if you run, because you have people coming to you. I did not do running. I did the first time I ever did any running was 2 years ago. And part of it is I have poor hearing and I was unsure of myself. And in running, you know, they're coming to you. You have to pay attention. It's the best way to score. And so like in all the digital contests, I do run. But it just means you stay on a frequency and you call CQ. Now, in a big contest, like CQ Worldwide, it's tough to find an open frequency. And so you'll find that a lot of the good guys actually get on before the contest and tie up the frequency. And then when the contest starts, they've already got it. But that's right. Search and pounce means you're probably either using some kind of spotting program or you're tuning your dial. You're looking for stations. And this is what I did when I was trying to increase my DX totals. I would find a country that I didn't have and I would just sit on it till I got them. And because I wasn't trying for big scores, I was trying to get a confirmed country. Many times in a contest, you'll do some of both. If nobody's answering your call after you call 10 minutes CQ, go search and bounce. Mult or multipliers, every contest has some kind of multipliers. Sometimes they're going to be like a zone, CQ zone or ITU zone. Sometimes, like, well, in the salmon run contest that's coming this weekend, every county is a multiplier. So if you get all the counties in Washington, you know, you've got all those. Then every state is a multiplier. And then every DX is a multiplier. So there's a lot of multipliers. Well, if you know anything about mathematics, the multipliers just take your score way up. So let's say that I decide I'm going to try and run 100 contests. If I run 100 contests but only get 5 multipliers, I only have 500 points, for example. But let's say that of my 100, I've got 50 multipliers. All of a sudden, I've got 50,000 points. So you have to pay attention to the multipliers if you want a high score. Now, if all you're trying for is a DX, it doesn't matter. But by the way, almost all your DX will be multipliers. Rates, that's just, normally it's talked about how fast you go, how many contacts you get an hour. And in a contest, it's all about the number of contacts. So if you find your rate dropping, and maybe you're doing search and pounce, well, maybe you need to switch to running, or maybe you need to switch to another band, or maybe you need to turn your antenna in another direction. It lets you know, it's kind of like the throttle. It's letting you know how fast you're going. Dupes or duplication, and in most contests, duplications hurt you, so you try to avoid them. Now, occasionally, somebody will come back and say, hey, you know, you're a dupe. And I say, when did I work you? Well, it could be I copied their information down, or they copied mine. It pays to correct it. Okay, ITU zones. This is from, you know, the International Amateur Radio Union. There's a lot of them, and in certain contests, that's the multiplier. And I put a map in there in your things you can download. CQ zones, like for example, for the CQ contest, CQ zones are key. And a couple of great, you know, I told you sometimes you're searching for DX, sometimes you're searching for zones. For example, a great award is worked all zones. So you might go in a contest, let's say you only needed 2 zones to get that award, and just weigh out the contest working those 2 zones. But that's the key. Assisted normally means you're using spotting. And, you know, that's kind of the key. Spotting obviously tells you what it is. I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, spotting is fantastic for me. That's how I used to find these rare DX places. Cabrilla log. We'll come back to this one, but every contest today that I know of, the way you submit your score is with a Cabrilla file. And I'll show you how to do that. That's really easy. But it is a standardized format everybody's agreed to on how you submit something where their automatic scoring can score your log. And it's very particular on what's on what line and what the titles are. So you have to do it the right way. All 3 of the logging programs that I mentioned will write it for you perfectly. They're great. I wanted to mention ADIF files because almost every, in fact, all the logging programs I've ever heard of will produce either a Cabrilla log or an ADIF. Where you'll use the ADIF is when you export from your contest logger and import it back into your regular logger. So after every contest, I do 2 things just immediately. I fill out the Cabrilla, I send it back to the sponsor. Then I export an ADIF, and then I go to my regular logger and import it. And that way, all of those contacts are in one log for me. SR2R, all of the really fast guys are using, this is single operator 2 radios. And they're usually doing running on one radio and search and pounce on the other. We don't have hardly anybody in our club that I know of that does this, and I certainly don't have the bandwidth to do it, but it's a great, if you can do it, it's fantastic. Qs are just the number of QSOs you make, and you know, I used to start out like for a contest, my goal would be 100 Qs or 200 Qs. At the DX Digi contest in August, I decided I wanted for 300 Qs. And sometimes I'll get that many Qs and then just stop, because that's my goal. All of the logging programs have something called super check partial. And what it amounts to is they have a file that has all of the regular contesters. And so you start typing their call sign in, and it will show you what it probably is. And it, you know, if you're having difficulty hearing a letter or a number, it will help you. And before every contest, you'll want to update that. So that's not meant to be an exhaustive list, but those are some terms that might be new to you if you've never contested. Now, let me give you some hints, and these are just mine. I think before every contest, you're smart to print out the rules. Now, you could put it digitally on your phone, and I mean on your computer, that's no problem. I like to print them out because there's things I want to know. And I find that having them available is very helpful to me if I have a question in the middle of a contest. Because sometimes I don't want to stop my computer and go bring up a PDF file while I'm in the middle of a contest. One of the things you're going to look for are the exact start times and end times of the contest. Some, like, for example, the salmon run, it doesn't go from Saturday morning to Sunday night. There's a stop, there's a break. Well, you have to know those times, because if you make a contact that's not in those times, it's invalid. And so, you know, you want to know that. And then almost always the times are going to be in UTC time. So, you know, you have to trend. Are we on daylight saving time or are we not? There was one contest last year that it started when we were on daylight and it ended when we weren't. And you had to pay attention to that there. I think you want to look at how much time you can operate and what time you must have off. Some contests, like let's say it's a 48-hour contest, will say that you can only operate maybe 30 hours of the contest or 36. So you have to decide, when are you taking off? Other contests will say that when you take time off, you might have to take at least an hour. So you can't go 15 minutes, go get dinner and come back. They're going to count it as an hour. So your rules tell you that. For example, the RIDI contest that's coming up a week from now, you can operate all 48 hours. There's no limit or no mandatory time off. But that varies with contests, and the only way to know it is to look at the rules. For each contest, you have to find out what the value of each contact is and each multiplier. So, and I'm just going to take the RIDI contest because it's coming right up. On it, there are different points. So if I contact a country on a different continent, that contact is worth 3 points. If I contact on the same one, someone in my continent, but not in my country, so like Mexico or Canada, it's worth 2. But if I contact somebody in the US, it's only 1. So each contact, I mean, obviously, the more DX contacts I have, each one is worth more. And then the multipliers on that one, there's all kinds of multipliers. There's zones, CQ zones. There's countries. Each country is a multiplier. And then each state. So you can have, in a CQ worldwide, you could have as many as 250 multipliers. Well, boy, that makes your score go up huge. So you want to pay attention. Look in every contest to what they are. Then decide your objective. If you know your objective ahead of time, you can always change it, by the way, it's your contest. But if your objective is finding new DX countries, just go for that. Just keep watching the spots. When you find somebody you need, work them. One I always do is, you know, I always want to beat my last year's score. Even when we were at the lower part of the sunspot cycle, I always was competing with myself. And I think that's a good thing, just to up your game. You may decide you only want to work a limited number of hours. You may decide, hey, I can't sit in a chair 30 hours. Maybe I'm going to work 8 hours and that's going to be it. That's fine. Or some of you that are aggressive, you can just say, I'm going to go for the highest score I can get. And you're going to hit it hard and hopefully do great. But decide what you want before, because then you're aiming at something that you care about. It doesn't matter what the club cares about or what somebody else cares about. It matters what you care about. And remember, this is about fun. Then You want to select and test your contest software, radios, and antennas. And I would say you want to test them a week before. Don't wait till the Friday afternoon to test things out. Get on Monday, make sure everything's working right, make sure you've downloaded all the updates, test all your antennas, be sure everything's good, because the last thing you want is to get started in a contest and find out something's not working. Then kind of decide what your strategy is going to be. Are you going to run? Are you going to search and count? Or are you going to do some of both? And as I told you, for probably 12, 14 years, I never ran once. I only did search and count because I was comfortable at that. But man, if you can run, do it. And most people are going to do some of both after they get a little experience. Develop your strategy. When are you going to try and work Europe, Asia and Pacific, Caribbean, South America? Jim and Murph and I did this Digi contest, and my strategy worked on this one. I worked really, I had decided at 5 in the morning I was going to work Asia, and before those guys got very many scores, I already had a bunch of multipliers. So they had a hard time catching me because of that. I think Jim would agree. But you think through, when is going to be my prime time to work Europe? When should I be working Asia and the Pacific? On Caribbean and South America, which bands? Then if you're going to sleep, which my body won't let me do 48 hours anymore, I have to pick when I'm going to sleep. And you want to sleep when you're getting the least contact. Don't sleep when all of a sudden Europe opens on 10 meters and you're so tired you have to go take a nap. Try to figure out, when the slow times are going to be. And some of that you'll just find as you do some other contests. If you're going to use spotting, make sure you set up the filters before. So obviously, if you're doing a RIDI contest, you don't need to see CW and sideband spots. You only need RIDI spots. If you're doing a CW contest, you only need CW spots. If I'm doing a sideband, I don't need to see RIDI and CW. Set your filters up where you only see the spots that are appropriate. And then there's other things about, like I find for myself, I do better if I don't put the East Coast spots up, because they hear things I don't hear. And I'm faster without it. So, just a hint there. And then if you can, before the contest, get on a few days before. And this gives you a chance to check band conditions. They vary greatly. And the sun's going down sooner and coming at different times. And give you an idea when different parts of the world are open. And then when the contest comes, you can do a better strategy. Then the week of the contest, and I always do it, I usually do it the Monday before it, download the current country files and superstructure. And by the way, all logging programs allow you to do this. And I'll show you in a minute actually how to do part of that. And then set up your macros and our voice messages. For example, I told you I do sideband. Well, you know what the exchange is going to be. I'm either calling CQ Worldwide N7GCO, or I'm giving my call, or I'm saying 59 Washington. Well, I actually put up memory keys where if I'm trying to break a pileup, I use the memory key, not my voice, because my voice can't go 48 hours. But I can do that, and I'm actually faster. And then obviously on RIDI or CW, the macros, speed you up tremendously. And then I'd say the last thing, make sure your contest online is set up in your software. Then a couple of hints during the contest. Keep your contest as brief as possible. Don't use any extra words. Now, I know a lot of us like to be courteous and say, thank you, appreciate that, thanks for the new one. But the guys that are trying for the really high scores, they don't appreciate that. They're trying to make their rate high. And to give you an idea, our friend Kurt, who we had speak at the DX Club from Montana, who's a world-class contester, the fastest I've ever done at rate per hour is about 52. Making 52. I mean, that's as fast as I am. I'm just not that fast. For a 24-hour contest, he averaged over 400 contacts an hour. So he made more contacts in 1 hour than I made in the whole contest. Well, he won't appreciate it if you're slowing him down. So in a contest, I know we want to be courteous, but give what you need and nothing more. Make sure you use standard phonetics. Don't use anything oddball, especially for foreign operators. They've learned the standard ones. You throw an oddball at them and then you're going to have trouble. And you don't give an honest signal report. Frankly, it's either 5.9 or 5.99 or 5NN. Just give it that way, because if you give an oddball one, they have to go back and correct it because they've got them set up to automatically. And if you miss something, only ask for what you missed. Don't say repeat, repeat. Say repeat state. Repeat signal report. Only ask for what you missed. Then after the contest, produce a Cabrillo file. That's the very first thing. Send it in to the sponsors. And by the way, all of the rules will show you where to send it. And all you have to do, by the way, is it's an email. You attach it, you send it, and you'll get a confirmation back usually within seconds that they've got it. Share your score on either the Spokane or the Idaho DX group for their team. And then I encourage post your scores on 3830, which Murph told us about. And then make a copy of your score for your records. That way next year you'll know how you did. So, those are some of my kind of hints on it. I want to just say a word about Cabrillo files. If you're using N1MM, this is set up for N1MM. You hit file and you come down and it says generate Cabrillo file. So all you got to do after the contest, come down, click on that. By the way, if you want to export it, just right below that, export, that'll be an ADIF file. But you hit Cabrillo, and then it will bring you to something like this. And you put what was your category, like I was single op. I did all bands. So if you were only doing the contest on 40 meters, you would put 40 meters here. What your power was, QRP, low or high. What the mode was, this was a digital contest. I didn't use any overlay like classic, and that's kind of a thing. I was fixed, so I wasn't mobile. I used assisted, means I used spotting. I had one transmitter. You have to put in your grid square, your operator. You click OK, and it will generate your report immediately. I'll show you now in 3FJP, same thing, file, come down, write Cabrillo, contest submittal file. By the way, here's your export ADIF. Same thing, you hit that, it'll bring you to a screen like this, and you just drop down and you pick the contest, pick the operator, fixed, one transmitter, power, assisted, what bands, what mode, time, who the operator was. Over here it's important, you put your club in, your name, your email, your location. All of us are either Eastern Washington or Idaho. Your address, and then you hit that, and it's going to, again, generate it in seconds. And you're all set there. Now, this is what a Cabrillo file looks like no matter which program produced it. And I want you to, it's very specific. It's going to tell how it was created, what the contest is, your call sign, your location, your category, fixed, one, high, assisted, all band, sideband, 24 hours, the club, my claim score, operator, now here's my information, and now here's all my contacts. And they have to be in that form, or the contest will come back and tell you, hey, you're missing this or you're missing that. So, you know, that's kind of a quick thing. I'm going to mention one thing. There is a great book. ARRL came out with a great new book called Amateur Radio Contesting for Beginners by Doug Grant. And if you're new to it, you want to it's a great book. And I would encourage you to, to look at that if you're brand new to contesting.